Hello, everybody. I am Mike Rains, aka Poker and Politics, and welcome to what might be the inaugural episode of Watching Arizona with Arizona Right Wing Watch. I am here with Haley, aka Arizona Right Wing Watch.
Sup?
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 Her powerful intro, just letting you know she's here. She's ready to do stuff and talk and podcast scintillatingly. It's thrilling, truly, the greatest of all things.
How are you?
So, I'm doing okay. As I told you before we started recording, I was driving to Ye Old Ice Cream Shop near my house, and there were Trumper QAnon people waving signs and flags on the road to the dairy, which was very exciting. Their flags were kind of generic Trump 2024 stuff, but one of them had a sign that said, "People need to start getting arrested suddenly." Another one had like a caricature of Fauci that was kind of demonic. And then the final sign was "Stop the New World Order."
Ooh.
Unfortunately, I was caught in the flow of traffic where I had to go at a speed that was a little too fast for my liking. But I did shout to them, "Where we go one, we go all." And
you made their day.
The thing was, I didn't get a very good reaction because I was just going so fast. I couldn't tell if they heard me, and so because everyone else was just giving them the honk. Everyone else was just like beep, 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 beep. The people that were just letting them know they were loved them. But I was like, the honk is so impersonal. I want to let them know I'm a fellow traveler. So I tried to hit him with the WWG1, WWGA, and I don't know that it resonated. And I was like, damn it, I was going like 35. If I'd been able to slow down to a much more comfortable like 22 or even a JFK-esque 11 miles an hour, it would have been so much more impactful. So
if one of them heard you, though, you really
absolutely. Oh my god, I was so tempted to just pull into the parking lot of the supermarket and just walk up to them and just go undercover. Just hit him with the Frank the Turtle, aka Amanda. Just be like, "Hey, where we go one, we go all. What about that COVID death jab? Am I right, bros?" Like, just give him the whole "How do you do, fellow students?" undercover operation. And since one guy doxed me on Truth Social, so and no one really seemed to care. The best part about that was the guy who doxed me, someone doxed him back, and then he was like, "I'm not trying to hide who I am. Why don't you come and meet me? And then you'll beg for your life before I don't kill you." And it was like, whoa, bro. Like, dial it back just a touch. Like, oh my God. You don't need to just go straight to murder if someone were to walk up to your house. Be like, "Hey, are you that guy on Truth Social?" Seems a bit extreme, but hey, I mean, today, that was the other thing that happened today that was really exciting was, my God, was QAnon on a murderous jag today. Like, every post I saw on Truth or Twitter was just, "When are we going to kill all the liberals? Come on. Fucking let's do it. We need to start killing." And I was like, holy shit. Like, it was just, man, we're just going mask off today. We're just none of this fucking, we just want to see where the evidence takes us. Nope. Just kill people. We just want to kill people. So I'm talking way too much because you are the belle of the ball. You are the woman. You are the woman of the hour, the tower of power, too sweet to be sour. All of these things. Rest in peace, superstar Billy Graham. And Haley is not waving like the Queen, for those of you who need the theater of the mind to know what's going on. But the big news that we had here is that Haley, along with some other researchers, got some work published in Talking Points Memo about Paul Gosar being tied to Nick Fuentes because one of his staffers is a Groyper, a.k.a. a neo-Nazi. So the floor is yours. What is this all about?
I feel like this is kind of complicated for some audiences because you have to kind of like explain online culture, but this is like the perfect podcast for this, you know? So anyway, Paul Gosar's intern turned digital director is like a pretty dedicated follower to Nick Fuentes, to the point where like Fuentes calls him like a loyal, you know, one of the strongest soldiers in his movement. Um,
Yeah.
and if people don't really know the kind of like America First, Groyper, Nick Fuentes universe, it's kind of got like this strict hierarchy. Like Nick Fuentes is like this like kind of like a white supremacist, like kind of like a cult leader. You know, he makes his followers take a loyalty pledge that they'll rape, kill, and die for him.
Is that explicit? Rape, killing, and dying?
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah,
great. Yeah.
yeah. And he also says like, you know, like pledge fealty to the white race and Nick Fuentes and God, you know, and you raise your right hand and in the, you know, so I don't know, that's kind of culty. What's your opinion on that one?
I did not know about the rape oath that Nick Fuentes required of his people. I was more going to just give you the sign being like, "Hey, let's break down Nick Fuentes for those who might not know."
Oh yeah.
Because as Elle loves to say, Stan Lee always says, every comic might be somebody's first comic. So let's go into the white nationalist cinematic universe and explain the character of Nick Fuentes.
Yeah. So he's like he kind of first made his appearance at Charlottesville in you know, the
Unite the Right
Charlottesville
rally.
Unite rally, yeah. Um he was like 18 when that happened. And he got kicked out of the university he was attending after that. Um and ever since then he's kind of just made like a little movement around himself. Like he's streams. He's kind of, it's also part of like kind of streaming culture, you know. He's a streamer on his own platform.
And isn't that like in his basement that his parents paid for his studio?
Yeah. um and so and then so it's like this like half streaming like move, like just kind of like influencer culture, but also like this actual political movement, like a white supremacist movement. Um and like obviously Nick Fuentes was pretty prominent at Stop the Steal and then January 6th. Um so anyway, he's kind of like a political influencer, but like a white supremacist political influencer. Um
Yes. Yeah,
he's
he's
openly anti-Semitic. He hates Jewish people. Um and like denies the Holocaust and makes jokes about the Holocaust, and he basically hates everyone. He also kind of like identifies with the incel movement. Like he calls himself openly an incel, which is a pretty dangerous ideology to pander to. He kind of just panders to like angry white, mostly white males, like Zoomers, like Zoomer males. And then they're called, like, the movement around him is called the Groypers. They're usually identified with like this fat little distorted frog, of like a distorted Pepe.
right. It's a very fat Pepe that is their sort of sigil in this movement, whereas QAnon has regular svelte Pepe. The Groiper is a fat frog that is their avatar. So
Yeah, it's
for their
kind of like
movement.
smugly looking, and it's chubby, you know.
Yeah. So Nick is the head of the Groiper movement, and where does the Groiper movement fit into like the white nationalists slash alt right in those communities? Like, how do they interact with like the Oath Keepers, the Proud Boys, and all those other fascist or fascist adjacent movements?
Great question. This is why I like you, Mike. um, but yeah, so the Groypers are mostly, again, like young men, you know, around Nick's age. He's like not even 30 yet. Um and like some of them, so Nick's obviously at the top, and then some of them also stream like Nick. They kind of just settle for like being streamers and gamers, like Baked Alaska. Some people probably have heard of him. Um he's a Groiper. He attends the Nick Fuentes conferences. He is also pretty openly anti-Semitic and neo-Nazi.
Yeah.
Um, but then like there's a segment of Groypers that do try to embed themselves into politics, and they kind of do this like cleaned up neo-Nazism. Like they know that swastikas and explicit like Sonnenrads and shit is like too neo-Nazi, like that's too obvious. Like even the most idiot like political understander would be like, well, that's a neo-Nazi. But like he just puts on a suit and ignores the swastika part, and like that's enough for people to be like, oh well, he's not a Nazi, where's the swastika? And like they even have slurs like in the movement for neo-Nazis that do like rock the swastika and shit. Like, you know.
What are those slurs?
I don't want to repeat it because it is like offensive. It's like white N-word nationalists, if you get my meaning.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like they're basically like ghetto. They consider them like ghetto white nationalists, like you're trashy, you're rocking the swastika.
You're giving away the game. That's bad for our image. We need to be a more like clean cut variation. Once we win, we can start putting the swastikas on, but we haven't won yet. So until we can influence and tear down the system and reestablish a white nationalist system, we got to pretend that we're not doing that stuff. So don't give away the game, bro.
Exactly. And like Nick openly like praises Hitler and like literally again like denies the Holocaust and like hates Jewish people, and like that's just the tip of the iceberg of that dude's hatred. And it's like that's not enough to convince people of his politics, because it's like, yeah, he doesn't rock the swastika. Like he understands that they say optics a lot in the movement, in the Groyper movement. They use the word optics a lot because like, yeah, they're aware that like they cannot get into a lot of political events or like, cozy up with Paul Gosar if they have like a swastika armband.
Yeah, bro, we're just not wearing it for optics. We totally believe it in our hearts, but we got to play it cool. Like this is optics is a term QAnon loves about the normies can't handle the hard truth. This is all for optics. That's why Trump isn't talking about throwing Hillary in jail right now. It's optics.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
But in the case of the Groypers, their actual optics are just don't show anybody what we really believe, or as we like to use in this field of work, don't show anyone your power level. Don't let them know. Just keep that under wraps. Don't let them put their little Dragon Ball Z scouter on you and be like, oh my god, he's over 9,000 neo-Nazi.
Yep.
So you have Nick at the head of this alt-right white nationalist movement, making people vow that they'll rape for him. So who is this lieutenant who is embedded in the Gosar staff?
So his name is Wade Searle. He lives in Arizona, in Gosar's district. And it seems like he kind of started more as just like a fanboy. Like he was a common super chatter and donating into his streams. He took the pledge.
Right.
He put the little hand emoji up. And he moderate, but then he he moderates for Nick Fuentes' stream, which I feel like is kind of a little bit of a, he's a little bit up there. But some of the like research that we did included leaked chats from a Groyper that defected from the movement. And he showed like internal chats of only like kind of like the top Groyper influencers, and Wade was in that chat room. So like he's up there in the Groyper like hierarchy, and a lot of Groypers seemed to be kind of aware of Wade running the account, Gosar account, or at least like having some involvement with the Gosar social media. Because they were really interactive with the Gosar accounts and kind of like, I mean, the internal chat showed that they were aware that Searly had like access to the accounts, and you know how like Nick Fuentes holds like a yearly conference, the AFPAC, his America First conference,
Right.
Because it was a big deal that Gosar appeared at the second one, and then he appeared on video the second year in a row, the second year it happened, or the second year he appeared at the third AFPAC. And like he claims that he didn't send that video in, and it's likely because like, yeah, this kid sent it to Nick personally, you know?
Right.
Like, because it had nothing to do with the conference. It was just like a random video of Gosar's that didn't like address the conference or Nick or anything. It was just like a video that was like sent in. Because Wade,
here's Paul Gosar just hanging out at his house. Hey,
yeah,
everyone's happy. Way to go, our neo-Nazi representative.
But Wade had also like helped to organize Nick Fuentes's stream with Sneeko, if literally anybody knows who that is. He was part of like the Kanye campaign a little bit, and he's like this like kind of manosphere influencer. He's kind of like a big deal if you know about.
He's in the Andrew Tate sphere of things.
Yeah,
he's another weirdo like Tate. I've heard of Sneeko, and I've seen like the weird arguments people have had with Sneeko about like fascism and stuff like that, where it almost, I mean, anything I've seen of Sneeko, it almost feels like it's a bit. It almost feels so on the nose. You're just like, this guy's having a laugh, bruv. I mean, but apparently, I mean, it's you're waiting for him to break character, and he never does. And at some point, you're just like, oh, he's just this. That's horrifying. So
he seems like in the movement, you know, because it's like he was
right.
And there was instances where Nick had like personally in the stream like talked to him, you know, like in chat, like his online alias was like chicken or chicken right or right wing chicken wing. Yep. So he would like commonly like or like occasionally talk to chicken in the chats. Like they like knew each other, you know. There was plenty of proof that they're like
associated,
aware of one another.
Yeah. So exactly, like, so Gosar just hired this guy. Is there any like backstory to how he got into Gosart's office beyond just he applied for a job and Gosart was like, "I like the cut of your jib, son." So.
Yeah, I was also kind of wondering about that too, because one of the chicken accounts, one of the Twitters had like 2 admins on it, and one of them was named Landon, and that's Landon Peterson, who is Gosar's new intern. So like it kind of seems like there's a trail of maybe groypers that have been entering the Gosar you know, office. After the article came out, I noticed some guy commenting on the Talking Points memo story saying like Patriot J did it first, and it was like this like groyper that was a intern briefly at Gosar's office. So there's been others, you know, like and in like the chats that we read, like Wade Searly was pretty open that there had been other groypers in Gosar's office before, you know. It's just like swamped with them, or like other types of white nationalists.
Yeah, I mean, Gosar has not been shy about being on this accepting of like white nationalists and being like okay with supporting these kinds of movements. Again, showing up at half pack at all is pretty like damning on that front. So exactly why exactly is it that Republicans in Arizona are tolerant of Gosar doing this? Is it just the like par for the course that if you're in a super blood red district, you can just kind of get away with murder being like a scumbag like this? Or like, what is it in your local politics that makes this kind of thing not something that gets you a primary challenger from some corporate empty suit Republican who just wants to MAGA Arizona or whatever?
I don't know. Like, he is popular, you know, like how Wendy Rogers is popular, even though she's like a vile human being. Like, they'll occasionally speak out against Wendy Rogers, but never, and Paul Gosar at the national level sometimes, but not like distance themselves from him or like take any action to actually like remove either of them from office.
Right. I
Um,
mean,
yeah, go ahead.
no, because Madison Cawthorn like stepped wrong, and suddenly the next thing you know, we've got all these videos implicating him as being gay or a crossdresser or whatever, and they sandbagged him, and it's just like no one takes a shot at Gosar, and that's really bizarre because he's obviously incredibly toxic, and I just don't understand why when you have somebody who is eminently replaceable, because it's not like you're like, oh no, that Republican plus 30 district, how will we ever find somebody to win it for us? Yet the Republicans in Arizona and apparently nationally are like, yeah, whatever, let Gosar have that seat until he drops dead, which could be any day now. Is his health improving? Because I mean, every video I see of him is not good, and there have been the allegations of the rumors of the conditions of the things that he's suffering from, but no one seems to be doing anything. Like, no one's talking about him the way they talk about Dianne Feinstein. No one's just like, oh man, I can't believe Gosar's being kept around, but because reasons, I guess. But like, everything about him is so bizarre to me.
Yeah, and I think like the acceptance of like the white nationalism in the party is just kind of like, I think we're just at that point. Like, once upon a time, like, it seems kind of goofy that Steve King, you know, was like blacklisted from the party. Because it's like, I don't see his politics any different than Gosar's. And it's kind of like how Trump wouldn't like distance himself from the Charlottesville Nazis. It's just like, well, that's kind of my base, so I'm not gonna say anything. Like,
very fine people on both sides.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people's politics are so like kind of bad that they're like, what's the problem with being a white nationalist? Like, like I don't know. I think it would just alienate a lot of their base, and they know it, maybe. And a lot of people just believe what Gosar believes, I'd imagine.
Yeah, we had like Tommy Tupperville talking about, you call them white nationalists, I call them Americans. And then people were like, whoa, Tommy, come here, dial it back a little, just a little. 20% off the top. We're not asking for a lot, just a little trim.
Also, like Marjorie Taylor Greene's comments today about like how calling her a white supremacist is the same as calling a black person the N-word.
Yes.
Like, yeah. We're in a good place.
Oh, absolutely. We are absolutely in the best of places. So exactly how did the like sort of meeting of the minds happen where you got in touch with Talking Points Memo and the other researchers, and two and two became four, and this article got written and published? Like, what was the process around all of that?
Do you know Nick Martin? Or
Yes,
of
yes,
Nick?
I do. Yes.
Yeah.
Sarah Hightower and Nick Martin's like on again, off again, torrid romances. Now she's with Tony Schiavone, so Nick's been sidelined. But yeah, I know of Nick Martin.
Yeah, so Nick and I have been kind of digging into this for a while. But he's got long COVID. So it's been really hard for him to write anything. We were gonna write it through his informant newsletter.
Yeah.
Because he's long covered like the Groypers and Gosar and Nazis and white supremacy in America. He used to even report in Arizona. So Nick is great. Everybody loves Nick. But so we've been working on this for a while, but like obviously couldn't write anything because he's been so sick. And honestly, I thought more people would catch on sooner because I thought it was so fucking obvious. Nick and I figured it out back when. So the Groypers kind of broke up. Some of the Groypers broke up. There was a schism. There was a great Groyper schism. And when that happened, some defectors from the like Nick's little cult snitched and said Wade Searley is Chicken, who is Paul Gosar's at the time intern. And Nick and I immediately found the Legistorm info on Searley and started digging on the Chicken name, and then just kind of like was able to find a lot in the Wayback Machine.
Which is owned by Taylor Arendt's uncle, and thusly is now being
I
used.
heard.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm stepping on material for next week's podcast, right now, just so you know. Yeah. But yeah. So yeah, you use the Wayback Machine, and now you are, as the Anons would say, you're digging.
I'm digging.
You're doing your own research.
Yeah, we're doing our own research. You know, nothing can stop what's coming. And so some of his accounts were like one of his Twitters was deleted. A lot of Groypers have been banned off of Twitter. Not anymore, but they were. So his Twitter account, and then he like deleted some accounts because he was pretty openly like posting images of his face and like at the Arizona Stop the Steal rally with like Nick Fuentes and Baked Alaska and Vincent James Fox and Jaden McNeil, who are all like people within the Groyper movement. And at Arizona Stop the Steal, he even stood behind Nick holding up the America First flag behind Fuentes.
Yeah.
And he posted all those photos and like videos, and his banner across like all his social media was the photo of him standing behind Nick with the flag. It was just like so obviously him. His bio said Wade. He clearly tried to do more like, instead of the political Groyper, he was trying to be the streamer Groyper, and was like trying to do streaming at the beginning of like before he got into politics.
Yeah.
So he was on like videos with other Groypers doing like debates. He just wasn't like shy about like publicly running these accounts. It was just that they were wiped, so there was nothing really tying him publicly like to the normal people.
Right.
You had to dig.
Yeah. So you dug and you got the sauce again, as these people would say, and so eventually, so Nick had an in with Talking Points Memo or whoever to get this published. How did that work out?
Yeah. So Hunter Walker, who actually wrote the piece, he also had a suspicion. I knew that Gosar was not like shit posting America First memes on his own. Like he had like really up to date like meme references. Like there's no way this guy's like that online. Like holy shit,
Right. It's like Scavino and the QAnon shit with Trump.
Exactly. That's exactly why I knew you would understand this. Is exactly. So I was like, dude, there's got to be like a groyper running this account. And Hunter Walker also assumed the same thing and just was literally, he was just looking at like through the list of people working for Gosar. And when he looked up Wade, he similarly found like forums of, again, like people who defected from the Nick Fuentes movement. They're not like reformed, they're just different kind of Nazis now.
Right, they're Nazis who want to have sex and not have Nick Fuentes running around with a black light checking to see if they had sex or not.
That is literally, you're so real for that. That is exactly true. So yeah, he found like a bunch of groypers snitching also, and like just reached out to Nick, like, you've covered this movement a lot. Have you noticed anything like this? And Nick's like, let's do this.
Yeah, so I'm glad that you guys were able to give the groypers and Paul Gosar a black eye, because fuck them, they're scum. They all deserve this very richly. So beyond this, like, now obvious tie between white nationalists and a sitting Republican congressperson, beyond all that, is there any other kind of thing in the Gosar sphere that like people need to know about when it comes to this whole ordeal?
Well, okay, so like the story came out and a lot of people were like, oh yeah, no shit, Gosar has some type of Nazi on his staff. He's posted weird things in the past, you know? And like kind of the point of the article was to direct attention to the fact that this kid, this Wade Searley, is his digital director, and like made groyper edits and memes before he worked for Gosar, and then got hired literally the day after he was censured for the AOC Attack on Titan meme, and is likely the person that is making a lot of these posts. So it's kind of like significant that Gosar has lended his social media accounts to this like white nationalist activist who is signaling to his white nationalist movement through his account. And so far as I can tell, Gosar does not give a shit, you know? Like, he has been refusing requests for comment. He literally told a reporter yesterday to like take a hike that asked him.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure Searley will keep his job because Gosar is fine with propping up this movement.
Yeah. So yeah, the Republican Party, everyone, not throwing our boy Santos out of office, just totally cool with Paul Gosar platforming neo-Nazis. It's great. It's all wonderful and lovely. So I think that about puts a bow on this whole ordeal. Any other last questions, comments, or thoughts about, I don't know, the world in general and all that good stuff?
No.
Cool, great. So with that thrilling conclusion of this week, perhaps again, the debuting podcast of Watching Arizona with Arizona Right Wing Watch. I am Mike Rains, hanging out with Haley. If you enjoy this nonsense, please give us a review on the Twittertrons or the, I don't know, the algorithm, whatever. Manipulate something on the internet. Make us famous.
Yeah, we're all independent folks. You guys, we rely on you, you know?
Yes.
We don't get paid.
No, go to her Patreon, go to my Patreon, do things, give us money, make us slightly less enslaved to capitalism. If you don't want to do that, if we're just too dumb for you, please go to love146.org and give them money so they can help end child trafficking, which is a noble goal and the goal that QAnon talks about, but they're full of shit, so they don't really care about that. The intro music, as always, was presented to you by DJ Minimal Effort, and that was about that. So, for this episode of Watching Arizona with Arizona Right Wing Watch, I am Mike Rains. Good speed, Patriots!